of content. Okay, so now for the exploded axon. So I guess actually we should talk maybe about what they are. You know, I don't know, even if we just run a quick search, right? Maybe if we start kind of like putting them you know, into a view in our mind, right? What these drawings are for. Particularly, again, the idea behind exploded axonometric is that, again, you see objects in components, right? So you break down a larger object into its smaller pieces and components. So hey, you're going to recognize this from furniture, maybe even some plans that you've seen, maybe for an apartment that you were looking to rent, or a home, parents. So that's the idea, right? Now, again, what do we have? So we have components, right? We have pieces. Now, also very important is that we have this projection lines or construction lines, right? That they show us. What do they show us? What is let's see, do I have these lines? Which one has it like clear? There we go. What do these lines show? Or can I zoom in there because you guys cannot see anything? Levels, vertices. Nick? The connection, right? I mean, it shows where one member goes in relationship to the other one. Now notice that in this case, let's call this the roof, right? We have a point of the vertice, right? It connects to the roof structure, which in turn connects to the wall structure, which in then the wall structure connects to the floor, right? But then that's it, right? And then you have this line that connects to the underlaid structure, right, of that, right? So these right here, your construction lines, what about them? What's unique about these lines right here? They're what? They're not solid lines. What are they? Dotted, dashed, right? Subtle difference, right? I mean, I guess you could say that a dotted line is a dashed line, but I don't know if you could say that a dashed line is a dotted line. Kind of don't want to confuse anyone. Anyway, don't just, that's a dashed line, and that's what we want to use, a dashed line right there. Okay, so when I talked about that right here on the assignment, assembly diagram, exploded axonometric. It's a rendered image with project materials, make 2D lines overlay. Hey, we just covered all of that. All right, so make 2D. Well, it's a rendered image with a make 2D lines, and then use line types, arrows, and text to annotate your drawings with all these different assembly components and materials. Oh, okay. So then that means that we're annotating this, and we have a beautiful example right here to for us. All right. So here, right, this drawing is doing just that. So we have our construction line, our projection lines, are where things lie. Now it's important to know that the explosion, right, the explosion of the exploded axonometry can happen on the y-axis, which is I'm sorry, on the z-axis, which is the vertical. I mean, things can be exploding up, but they can also be exploding to the sides, right, such as these window components right here. And it's all about legibility and how you construct this drawing. So I'm just going to give you guys the basic introduction to this, but notice as well that you have your labels, right, and your lines that point to those members. So roof structure, you have those lines that point to the roof structure. Roof points to that line right there, etc. Wall, column, floor, main wall, skin, footing. Okay, so that's our task for right now. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Right, so when you explode it, you have to explode every surface. You can't have it be a solid.
You can, yeah, you can, and it all depends on the intent of the drawing, right? You see that this one right here, it has actually exploded on the 4 axes, right? Well, I mean, in the back, front, right and left, well, what I'm calling the front, back, left, and right. I don't know this project, right? And then also vertically, right? And how it breaks it down, right? It's by components, right? The skin structure, which then the skin structure lays on the main wall. You see, skin structure and wall. Now your project is not as elaborate, right? Your project is it's way more simple, right? It should be, okay? So that's why I'll show you guys how to work it with this drawing with the your project in mind. Okay. All right, guys. So I'm going to use this model as you know, as my beginning for this. I'm going to zoom in here, zoom selected, you know, viewports right there. Let me get rid of those lights. Okay. And I'm gonna make some stuff up. So I'm gonna extract certain faces so that I can actually treat them as different components. Okay, and if you guys remember from that little house video, the push and pull, right? If you guys remember about the extract surface, right? I'm gonna use that. So right click on this. So I'm gonna extract, let's say, these four, all of these surfaces right here, right? So all of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the top 5, right click. What do I mean by extract them? That they're now a different component, right? So they're now moved right there. Okay, so I have those right there, and maybe even for right now, let's simplify this a little bit, and maybe even let's just work with one form at a time. I'll come back to that one right there. Okay, so I'll zoom into this one right here. Okay, so I have extracted the faces. Now notice that I have that beautiful gumball right there for us. Is going to be very helpful. Now, one of the first things is to actually set up the view. Right? So if you actually have noticed, right, if you actually go to set view, one of the views is actually isometric right here, the bottom one. So isometric is a type of axonometric view. Right? So that's what we want. Now it's asking us for a certain coordinate, right? Is it the northeast? Is it the northwest? And you see how it's rotating it for us, right? Set view, isometric, southeast. And I think the one that I like for this one is the southwest, at least for this particular model. Nope, that's not right. That would be the southeast then. Isometric southeast. There we go. All right. So, all right, guys. So it's important that once you set up the view, do not rotate. Okay. So if I start doing this, the isometric is off. If I rotate, so I have to go back now again. Set view, isometric southeast, and then you see how it sends me like the entire window right there. And now I have to zoom in again. So in order to save this view and don't have to be setting it up again, zooming in again, what can I do? Wow, right? What was that deal? Lock it. It's more like save it, right? In the views, like Victor mentioned, right? So remember, I can go to set view, name views, and I can create my own views. Yes, Nick. Oh, am I not? That would not be good, Nick. Oh no, yes I am, but I had it locked in. Hey, thanks for looking out though, Nick. I appreciate that, man, because that'd be awful. It's like, oh man. All right. So we are recording. So we are live, guys. So we are live. So 8:66. Yes, thank you, Nick. Yes. So, but it was docked. So the important part is that you actually can come back at this view at any time. Remember that we can do that very easily, right? So set view, name views, and I can now call this, right, my axon, right, or maybe even my exploded axon. And at any time I rotate, I lost my view, I can double click on that view and I come back there. Right, so I have saved my view. So these are all what sometimes they're called your scenes. If you're into, again, photography or filmmaking, is actually very much related to architecture in the way that you frame a scene. Again, if you think about staging a room for a scene, someone's gonna get killed or whatever, right? I mean, the way that the camera is gonna travel through the room is heavily studied before being filmed. so that everything that is going to be on the frame as you move is on the right place. Water cup, that closet, that clothing, everything has been studied. And whatever's out of the frame, you don't have to worry about it. Unless it's lighting, for example, or shadows and stuff like that, right? So that's why setting up views is really important. But anyway, we have that right here. So I have set up my view. I have extracted my components. Now what I do is I select them, and notice that I have the gumball, and I can now start exploding them. I can start doing that. I can start doing that, right? That, doing that, and doing that. Kinda. But let's do this a little bit more coordinated. What do I mean? Well, be mindful about what you're doing. Okay? What do I mean? Well, give it a distance, right? So if I'm gonna move this right on the green axis, what if I move it, let's say 5? Right? Oh, it moves that direction. Okay, great. I wanted to move this way though. So I undo. I can click my gumball, but I'm gonna turn it into a minus. But now, what if I do -10? Right? So it comes back out that way. Okay. So I select now this piece right here, maybe, and then the red axis. Notice that the arrow is pointing to my right, and I want it to go to the left, so that's probably another negative. So I'll do a negative. Ah, there you go. This object right here, move it now +10. We do that. This guy right there, move it, right, 10. Cool? All right. So I'm not going to move this one yet because I need that for a reference. I need that as a reference. Remember the images that we were looking at right here, right? These dash lines? Those dash lines come actually from Rhino, and those are a specific layer. So I create a new layer. For lack of a better title, we'll call it right now Exploded Axon. Let's just shorten this. Exploded Axon lines. Okay, I'm gonna give it something bright that we can follow it, or bright pink right there. Okay, because I am now going to move this back up, but before I do that, let's draw some lines. So I'm gonna come back here in the Exploded Axon layer. Is that pink layer right there? So I make it active. I can type lines, and let's do some lines, right? Because there's a line that goes from there to there. There's a line that goes from there to there. There's a line that goes from there to there. There's a line that goes from there to there. Doing that right there. Now I'm gonna do more lines than I would usually do, and we'll look right now at our example because I also get that asked that a lot, right? I mean, and again, I can start seeing things are working correctly, right, in terms of my view. And again, that's why you want to save your view so that you can go back and set view, isometric. I'm sorry, name views. That was our Exploded Axon. So we go back right there. We're doing more lines. So we bring that right there. Bring that right there. Oops. See, again, I moved that. So do that. Bring this one right here. That one wants to go over here, and then that one over here, and then that goes there, except that this now one goes up 10. Remember that we're exploding on different axes. It's kind of flipping out. So we're starting getting that. Now that line is not correct. All right, so this line actually wants to go over here. See? Let's just start doing that right there. So that's the explosion part, right? Now we also have lines that are running on the z-axis, right? Let's draw those. So I'm gonna do line there, from there to this one right there, and do a line from there to there, that corner to this one, and then that corner to this one. Okay. Yeah.
How do you decide what to explode?
Yeah, so yeah, that's a really good question. Again, it depends on what this drawing is for. All right. So most for here at school, well, you what we'll basically want to see is your structure versus what's called your envelope or your skin. All right. And from there we start seeing, right, I mean, your structural system, which is your grid and your floors, versus, let's say, your wall, right, and the structure of the wall. Now, for your project, for this class, it's about the components that make up the toy, right? So again, think about pieces that go together, right? I'll show you guys another example right now. Let's finish this one, because right now I'm thinking more kind of like I don't know, the magnet pieces that Stephanie was talking about, because I exploded that form completely, right? But I can actually make a copy right here of these two objects right here. Bring it out here, and rather than exploding all of that, I'm going to type join right here. It could be as simple as actually just exploding that part right there. That's it. Kind of like some of you guys that talked about, like maybe like a puzzle toy that you insert like a star or something on some face or something. So it could be like that, right? I mean, in this case, I exploded all of the faces, and this one I'm just going to leave it like that, right? So it's actually just two pieces, right? Is that top part right there, and then the bottom one. And I can draw, let's do both of them. So this is where, again, it depends on the project itself. Okay, so you have a very, very elaborate one right here, which is this one to the left, and then maybe a more simple one, which is this one right here to the right. Okay, so let's do both, just as a quick example. Oh man, class is over. Okay, all right. Alright, let me just go through this real quick. So we talked about this being the right view. So set view, exploded axon. Right. So again, we want to frame it correctly. We talked about this being on the render view. Right. So that's the render view. We can generate our rendering. Now let's see how this is gonna look right there. That has the components right there. Notice that the lines don't show up on this rendering. That's a different setting that you can turn on, right? But we have those lines here. So I'll save this image right here, and you see that without the lines, it's difficult to put literally the pieces together, right? I mean, exactly where they go. I mean, you have an idea because of the opening, but it not always is that clear. All right, so I'm gonna save this right here. So I call this exploded axon. Right, so close this. Okay, and then we do the same deal right here. Make 2D. Select objects to draw. Select all of those objects. Now it's very important, guys, that you're actually on the isometric view, right? Because if not, it's not going to look like an isometric. It's going to look like a perspective or something in between. Right, so enter. We're not going to do the hidden lines. Again, we do OK. Yes, the isometric. Okay, we do the isometric, and then we get that drawing right there, which is kind of messy right now. Okay, so this is all from the previous video. Now, so we come in here, right? We're gonna work on our exploded axon. So we'll do file, place. There's the exploded axon image. I can place it right here. And then, remember, we want to export our lines from Rhino. Adobe Illustrator file, exploded axon. Okay. Project number 4, make 2D, exploded axon. Have our lines. Now this one though, we have two different line types, and that's what I mean. What is our two different line types? Sarah? Correct. The guidelines and the lines of the objects, which one of them are, yes, pink, and then they're going to turn into what type of line? Dash. Okay, and that's why your layers is important right here, because if you go into your layers, right, they're on the same layer. Yeah, so I can select them all if I click on this little donut, and then I change its stroke, and then dashed. Have that. Okay, I'm gonna repeat. I'm gonna undo so you can see it again. So I select all of the lines that are right there on that layer with that little donut. Click on stroke, check dash, and that dash is too big. So maybe I'll turn this into maybe a 3. There we go. And it shows those. But you see how messy this starts looking, right? So it actually is there. The less amount of projection lines, the better. But let's see, we still need to convert all of these ones to black lines. And we also have these ones over here. Turn them to black. Actually, I'll use the eyedropper. Okay, so we have now that object. Select, Control copy, come to our board, paste it, right, and we have that right there. Okay, so just what lines and what to explode or not, just put some, as long as you have a logic behind it, right, in terms of how you put this object together, you know, we'll be fine, and then we'll just talk about it. Now, the last thing, guys, I know it's like one more thing, okay, very important though, is your label. So I created a new layer, right, and we bring in text boxes, right, so this could be, you know, metal, and let's do caps, right, metal roof, you know, plastic walls. Why would you do that? I'm not sure, but it's an example. What is this going to be? Our labels, right? So we go to the pen tool, right? Click, click, oops, pen tool right here, click, click, click. Okay, flip this too. Okay, so I have an arrow that is pointing to that object right there. And again, if you go under stroke, arrowheads, we can give it either an arrow, or the one that looks very nice too as well is the dot. But that's flipped, so let's click right here. So the dot is on the object. And even better, right, I can use direct selection and edit it and move it like that. Okay, I can copy this one right here and move it a little bit. And we do that right there. Okay, so that's and again, I'm rushing through this because class was over about 7 minutes ago. But thank you for sticking around. This is recording. It's only about 25 minutes now. You have a chance to take a closer look at it and, you know, try it. Do try it, and let me know if there's questions. And again, in terms of your project, well, you know, just the pieces or the components that might need to be exploded are different. Okay, so what do we need for Thursday? All right, so we're gonna work on our final layout on Thursday right here in class. Okay, so please, before you leave, just hand in your whoops, let me pause this right here.